Last year on this show, I got up here and I asked you all, is esports dying? And today, I'm back again to ask, is it dead? Is it still dying? Or maybe, is it coming back to life? For those of you who might not be as deep into all of this stuff as I am, let me tell you about something that we in the industry called the esports winter. It was a period of time during the last year or so where it really felt, for those of us on the inside of the industry, that esports was falling apart. Organizations were laying off huge swaths of their staff, teams were being let go, and many of the biggest names in the industry were pretty transparent about how hard it is to make money as an esports entity. Oh yeah, and FaZe Clan took their company public only to watch the stock plummet into the ground.
Their lack of success on the market is a terrible thing for the esports industry as a whole, man.
Now, the fact is, there are a lot of people who love esports and gaming. Take the very viewers on this channel. But what's not obvious is how you take those eyeballs and turn them into a sustainable business model for the organizations in the esports world. They have to make money somehow. This shit just isn't traditional sports. It's not traditional entertainment. It doesn't work that way right now, and it probably never will. Which I explained last February. There's just one thing missing. How the f do they make money? Now, as you might imagine, a lot has changed since then. At the time, there was a sense that there was a bunch of outside investment that was coming into esports as the big main leagues were starting to grow. And now it feels like a lot of that outside investment has dried up as the investors themselves haven't been able to see the kind of returns on esports that maybe they initially expected. And not only was it drying up, but it also wasn't clear where the next big pot of money was going to come from, because almost all of these major esports orgs weren't making any money, and the layoffs were really ramping up. Enter Ludwig?
Yeah, that's right. This whole video about how esports is dying is actually about how I'm joining as the co-owner of Moist Esports, to which you might say, aren't you being dumb? Aren't you being a hypocrite? Isn't this how you're gonna burn all of your money? To which I say, maybe.
And not just Ludwig, but influential voices like him, Disguised Toast, and Moist Critical, who were attempting to rally to esports' cry and build teams around their names. The theory here was that some of those big names, they could front the costs, and then they could integrate those teams into their content creation, creating a big enough megaphone that maybe they could break even. And I personally think it's dope that these big names were stepping in to help something that they believe in, but it was never going to save the whole industry, obviously. Now, all that was happening last February. That was the last time I got on here and spoke to you. And since then, we've been doing, well, all right, I guess. The layoffs have absolutely not stopped, and massive North American orgs like TSM and Evil Geniuses are ghost towns compared to what they once were.
TSM has 9 employees left. That was the shocking revelation revealed by the org's former social media manager after he was let go by them this week.
And as for all those influencer-backed teams, well, they're doing okay. They still exist. Ludwig and Moist joined forces with Shopify Rebellion to continue growing their Valorant roster, and Moist and Disguised are still kicking as orgs. Now, naturally, a lot of you might be asking yourself, Keith, did you just get on camera to tell us that everything's the same as last year, except worse? No, actually, I swear I didn't. Because there was some news this week that I think could be huge for esports, and I hope is an indicator of good things to come. In a blog post on March 14th, Riot Games president of esports, John Needham, announced that the developer was making a shift to its League of Legends esports strategy. Needham announced that Riot is going to be making changes to the business model behind the LCS, the LEC, and the LCK. Here's why he said they're doing it. The move is, quote, intended to keep League of Legends esports healthy and on a path to long-term sustainability. In this context, sustainability means that League of Legends esports can generate enough revenue to cover the costs of Riot, our professional teams, and other stakeholders investing in our ecosystem, while also providing an enduring career for our best players to compete professionally. Remember, this is an organization that recently laid off 11% of its workforce. They don't exactly inspire confidence to me right now. Here's more context from Needham about why they made this decision. Quote, in the current League of Legends esports partnership model, teams committed to pay about $10 million to participate in a league and receive 50% of certain revenues, not profits, generated by that league. Most of this revenue has historically come from sponsorship and, to a much lesser extent, media rates. When we first introduced this model, abundant access to capital allowed teams to spend in excess of the revenues they were generating directly and from Riot. Over time, access to capital became limited, revenue growth didn't catch up to cost growth, and team cash reserves dried up. End quote. This new partnership situation will open up new sponsorship opportunities for teams, offer the ability for teams to play in more third-party events, apply a minimum guarantee on league revenue to each team that is significantly higher than the share of actual revenues owed to those teams. It will offer accelerated payments of those revenues. It will also offer deferred participation fee payments. Those payments are in reference to the $10 million I was talking about earlier. And last, but maybe most importantly, Riot will be shifting the revenue model of these leagues away from prioritizing sponsorship dollars and towards sharing revenues on digital content offerings. That's right, skin money, baby. Traditionally, only teams that made it to MSI and Worlds, the international events, were able to get a share of the digital content and skins that were made for those events. In this new model, all Tier 1 teams will benefit from shared digital content revenues. The digital content offering will be dumped into a global revenue pool, and then that pool will be redistributed to all Tier 1 orgs based on the mechanics you see on your screen. Half just for being there, 35% for competitive success, and 15% for the work your org does to grow your fan base. And as you might expect, Needham ended his article by saying this change will lead to more digital content. Yeah, more skins. And now that we've heard from Johnny Boy, the question is, what the f does this all mean? It's actually pretty simple. Instead of asking teams to buy into the league and then saying, okay, you guys are on your own. Use your media rights, go get sponsors, that's how you'll make your money. Instead, we're saying, okay, we're gonna be making digital content that supports these leagues and supports these teams, so we're gonna share some of the revenues with you, which is exactly the model they've been working on rolling out in the Valorant world. And I don't know about you, but these have been all over my Twitter timeline. They look dope for the most part and allow you to support your favorite team in a cool way, and hopefully they will make these teams some damn money. And of course, they have also led to some serious content.
One enemy remaining.
Buy the Sentinels bundle.
I think one of the big takeaways here is that Riot Games is actually acknowledging how much these organizations are struggling to make esports a legitimate business. Much like I said in my video last February, this shit is not like traditional sports. It's not as obvious how you make money. There's no massive TV contracts. Media rights don't mean as much, at least from where I'm sitting. There's no massive ticket sales numbers. How are you supposed to monetize something when everybody who watches the games can do it for free on Twitch in their bedroom while eating McDonald's? If that's what we're used to, how could you honestly expect us to start paying money to watch all the games? Or how could the organizations make enough money to pay their giant player salaries?
You gotta be like pretty careful when you say like esports is dying or even league is dying. It's definitely not. And by the way, I don't think that, I think it's only up from here. I truly believe that it's only up from here for the LCS.
For a long time, it felt like the only people making money in esports were the developers, which, I mean, I guess is fair to an extent. They made the game. But in this case, Riot Games seems to at least have acknowledged that the players and the esports are a massive marketing vehicle for these games. We know that people love watching their favorite players and streamers, and the experience of being an esports fan motivates you to log in and want to play too. And maybe most importantly for Riot's bottom line, and now the team's bottom line, it also motivates you to buy some skins. So the fact that Riot Games is willing to let the teams in on this money printing factory that is online digital content in these games and help market these games is an awesome thing. And I really hope it works. And me being stoked may not come as a massive surprise to some of you, because last year on this very show, I literally said that developers sharing revenue with the players and teams might in fact be the best path forward. Because unlike traditional sports, Riot Games and the developers that make these esports titles literally own the product that all of these businesses are trying to build around. Nobody is putting patch notes out for basketball. And that's a lot more relevant than you might think at first glance. And maybe this is the key for all of us to make it through this esports winter together. I mean, another thing is like, you'd think that there's now going to be like new digital content. Obviously, when they say digital content, the first thing that comes to your mind is skins. But I wonder if there's going to be new options.